These notes are going to talk about orbitals and where our electrons fit inside of the atom. To do this, we look at what's called a wave mechanical model. So we're basing these off of mathematical wave functions for the electron. So electrons are stored and kept in the around the atom by principal energy levels. So you have levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on up. As the energy level gets higher, like a 4 is going to have more energy than a 1 or a 2. Each of these levels are split up into what's called sublevels. These are described by S, P, D, and F sublevels. So, for example, level 2 will have sublevels S and P involved. Alright, so each orbital, when we talk about orbitals, we're talking about those sub-level energies, so the S, P, D, and F. And these each have a very specific type and shape to them. Each orbital can contain 2 electrons. So we say it's either 0 electrons are empty, 1, so it's half filled, or 2 electrons, it's filled. Here is a diagram of how we can look at electron configuration, so you can see the energy going up as we get into the higher levels. In there you also see that we have the sublevels divided up. So we have 1s with its only sublevel of s. In the 2 level we have 2s and 2p. It's important to note, like when we get into p's and d's, that each orbital, the p orbital, actually has 3 orbitals to it. So since each orbital can hold 2 electrons, in the 2p region we have 3 orbitals. It can hold 6 electrons total. In the d orbitals we have 5 orbitals, each of those having 2. So a d region can have up to 10 electrons being stored. Okay, so we have a couple of rules that we need to go on by. So the Aufbau principle is that electrons are going to be in the lowest energy level first. So we're going to fill the 1s orbital, then we will jump to the 2s orbital, then we'll go to 2p, 3s, then 3p. The Pauli exclusion principle is that the electrons, okay, so these 2 electrons are going to be in each orbital. They cannot be in the same space, so we look at them as kind of rotating in opposite directions. So we have this little spinning electron, and some of them will spin counterclockwise, and some of them will spin clockwise. We note this in our diagrams by either up or down arrows. So we are going to put an up and a down arrow would signal that that orbital is completely full. We would not put 2 up orbitals together. In the Hund's rule, that says the electrons are going to try to be as far apart as possible. So in the 1s and the 2s, or any of the s orbitals, when you go to fill that orbital, you have to put both electrons in there. But when you get to the 2p, or any of the p's, or any of the d's, you are going to space those electrons apart. So you're going to put an electron in each circle before you go back in and fill in the first or second orbital. Okay, just to kind of describe those diagrams a little bit more. So each of the circles is a sub-level orbital. Okay, so we still have our levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up. And then we have sub-levels for them, S, P, D, F. And a circle represents a sub-orbital. S only has 1, P has 3, D has 5. So those are the bubbles. Each bubble can only have 2 electrons in it. We represent those as one going up and one going down to represent the different spins. So here we're going to practice filling in and where these electrons go. So we're looking at hydrogen. Hydrogen only has 1 electron, so its one and only electron is going to be in that 1s orbital. So here is the 1s orbital with its 1 arrow pointing up. And then the electron configuration for hydrogen would be 1s1, meaning the 1 level, the s orbital with only 1 electron in it. For helium, we have 2 electrons. So again, we're going to fill that lower energy level, 1, with 1 up arrow and 1 down arrow. That takes care of both of helium's electrons. So this one is full, and its electron configuration is 1 for the energy level, s for the orbital, and 2 for the 2 electrons that are in it. Lithium has 3 electrons, so it will fill that first s orbital with an up and a down electron. Then its next electron will go into the 2s orbital. So we've got one electron still kind of floating around on the outside. This would be written as 1s2 to represent that full first orbital, and then 2s1 for the electron that's in the 2s orbital. Boron has 5 electrons, so we get to fill all of the 1s orbital, all of the 2s orbital, and then we get to put 1 into the 2p orbital, and it would be written like this. 1s2, 2s2 for the 2 filled s orbitals, and then 2p1 to represent the 1 electron in the 2p. To look at carbon, we have 6. We are going to put this electron in the second orbital for 2p because we're going to space these electrons out. We write this electron configuration as 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Looking at nitrogen, it has 1 more electron than carbon, so we get to fill those 3 2p orbitals. We get to put an electron in each one of those. Notice that the only thing in the electron configuration that is changing here is that addition of the electron in that p orbital. Oxygen has 1 more electron than nitrogen, so in the electron configuration, we are just going to put a 4 out here instead of a 3. In our drawing for our arrows, we've put our first down arrow in the first orbital for 2p. If we go to sodium, sodium has 11 electrons, so we go ahead and fill up the 1s orbital, the 2s orbital. We get to fill in all of the 2p orbitals, so those 6 electrons go in there, and we're still left with 1. This one gets to go into the next row, the 3s orbital. So our electron configuration says 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. For our last example, we're going to look at chlorine. Chlorine has 17 electrons, so 2 in the 1s, 2 in the 2s, 6 in the 2p, 2 in the 3s, and then we have 5 left over, so we can put 1 in each of the 3p orbitals. Then we can double up and put 1 in the first p orbital and the second p orbital. So we have 1 orbital that still only has 1 electron in it. So our electron configuration would be the 1s2, the 2s2, the 2p6, 3s2, and then we have 3p5. Here is a little chart that's going to help you. When you're looking at this, for example, where hydrogen would be, you are filling the 1s orbital. When you look at the other purple regions, you are filling in the 2s orbital or 3s orbital. So basically the s orbitals are where that last electron is going to go. In the green section, you're looking at the p orbitals for that last place of the electron. The yellow, we're looking at the d, and the light blue at the bottom would be for the f. Okay, so this is probably what we remember from 8th grade, looking at valence electrons. So the valence electrons are the ones that are going to be in that outer orbital, that higher level, okay? So we kind of went to the 8 is great rule, what we can fit in that last s and p orbitals. The core electrons are those that aren't in there. So if we were looking at chlorine, we would look at those last 7 electrons that are hanging out in the 3 level. The 1 and the 2 level electrons, those all are going to be core electrons. Okay, to finish this up, I'd like you to go to Canvas and kind of work through a little bit of the Orbitron website and those notes. And then for homework tonight, you're going to work on the gizmo that is posted in Canvas.